This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. For a free 10-day unlimited trial, visit lynda.com/MacVoices. And by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Learn more and download yours at takecontrolbooks.com. Welcome back to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I'm really excited today because we get to talk about an update to my absolute favorite Mac utility, bar none. The utility is TextExpander, the company is Smile, and we have Philip Goward and Greg Scown here from Smile to tell us all about it. Gentlemen, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Chuck. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, it's always great to get together with you guys, but it's especially great when we get to talk about your software and updates. And it's even better for me because I get a new version of TextExpander. So I'm not sure who should be the first spokesman. We'll bounce back and forth a little bit, but who wants to tell me what's new in TextExpander 5? Nobody.
So
okay.
Many things. The question is where to begin with TextExpander 5.
All right, that's good. Well, Philip, then you pick a place and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm going to pick my favorite feature in TextExpander 5, which is suggestions. As you type, it listens to what you type, which we all know about TextExpander anyway, because it listens to what you type and finds those nice abbreviations to save you typing lots of stuff. But in this case, it listens to what you type and remembers it. And if you type something a lot, it keeps it around for you and says, hey, you might want to use this again and again and again because you've typed it so much. Why not use an abbreviation for it?
And to be fair, I've already downloaded it and upgraded, and I think that's brilliant because it really, one of the things I've always said about TextExpander is you do have to sit down and kind of think about what do I type repetitively. You don't always realize what you type repetitively. So this is a fantastic new feature.
Yeah, it tells you what you type repetitively. It can be a little surprising and jarring for some.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm going to pursue that.
I wouldn't.
Good.
Maybe we should alternate. So one of my favorite features is that it reminds you of when you mistype the opportunity to type an abbreviation. So, for example, if I type TextExpander out all the way, I get a little notification that pops up and says, oh, you could have just typed capital T, small x, and you'd have gotten TextExpander.
And I've also had that happen. Much to my surprise, I was finding snippets that I'd created that I kind of forgot about it and had never gotten in the habit of using. And now it's reminding me every time, and already I've gone back to using a good 15 or 20 snippets that I, just in the space of a few days, that I created with the best of intentions and the right reasons, but wasn't using.
Yeah, TextExpander 5 is a great opportunity to sort of swipe the dust off the old abbreviations and make them new.
Yeah. And again, it's surprising because the things, okay, in that case, you've thought about those things, you've created the snippet, you just never got in the habit.
Mm-hmm.
Precisely.
Okay, Philip, back to you. We'll just do ping pong.
Okay, my next favorite feature, it's kind of subtle and simple, but inline in TextExpander, you can get a little window to do some searching for snippets that you use. And I actually love this because I'm now in the habit of using snippets which aren't just my own, but maybe it's for tech support that somebody else has written. And I don't necessarily know the abbreviation up front, but I probably know some of the text that might be in there. And so I can just type the text that might be in there, and it gives me a list of all of the snippets that match, and lo and behold, there it is. So I love the inline searching.
Now, the first two features we talked about, sort of, they're turned on by default, and they just happen. How do you get to the search box?
You have to set a little hotkey for it, which you can do in preferences for TextExpander.
Okay. Is there a default hotkey already set?
I don't think there is for that one. Is there, Greg? I never remember that.
Okay. So that's something we do, that hotkey, and then we're searching within our snippets.
Right.
Very nice. Very nice. So that's for the one that you created, but you can't quite get there, and it's too big for TextExpander maybe to identify?
Right.
Okay. Greg?
We can now sync on iCloud Drive, any other sync folder, and any location that you'd like on Dropbox. So prior to TextExpander 5, you could only sync to Dropbox, right. And the location was hard-coded. It was TextExpander at the top level of your Dropbox. And this was the result of an historical decision that we have now been able to undo ourselves from, extricate ourselves from. There we go. That's the word. And so now we're able to offer anywhere you want on Dropbox, anywhere you want on iCloud Drive, or if you want to use a different sync service, such as, say, Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever, then you can use that instead. Now, if you want to sync with iOS, with TextExpander Touch, you're currently limited to Dropbox and iCloud Drive. But again, you can still put things wherever you'd like in either of those.
I'm glad you explained, because that's why I was giving you a blank look. I didn't quite pick up the location in Dropbox.
Well, there are folks who use TextExpander only on the Mac, and so for those folks, they could choose any sync service that they want. For the folks who use TextExpander on both Mac and iOS, then you'd have to constrain yourself to iCloud Drive and Dropbox in order to use sync.
For some of us that have the private cloud devices like Transporter, is that something we can use?
Yes, it is.
Great. That's even better. Okay, so let's take this one at a time. First of all, why is it such a big deal to be able to sync in iCloud Drive? Is it just a matter of it's easier for iOS, or is there some other hidden benefit?
I think just because it's there.
Like Mount Everest, okay.
I mean, everybody has it if they've got an iCloud account, so why not? It makes total sense.
And I mean, the fact is that, I don't know, politics come and go. People are happy with Dropbox sometimes. People are unhappy with Dropbox sometimes. People are happy with Apple sometimes. People are unhappy with Apple sometimes. It's best to have the option. If you like Dropbox and that's where you put things, then you should be able to sync your TextExpander snippets there. If you like iCloud Drive and you'd like to put your TextExpander snippets there, then we support that too.
Greg, are you running for office?
No, but I mean, you will recall there was some form of political issue with Dropbox some time ago, and we certainly got a fair amount of support mail. And it was difficult for us because we wanted to be able to say, yes, we can support iCloud Drive, but we weren't quite ready at that point. So, hopefully we didn't lose people over that, but now we're able to accommodate them.
Great. So let's go back to Dropbox then for a second. You say that I can put it anywhere in my Dropbox that I want. Let's assume for a second that I am syncing my snippets now amongst a whole bunch of Macs that are sitting around here. And I decide, I really don't want it at the top level. I'd like it maybe 2 or 3 levels deep for whatever reason. Am I going to have to then go to each of my devices and change the location, or is it something that the location of the sync will sync across using Dropbox?
You'll have to specify the location on each machine. Okay. They store the location locally, even where their remote data is. But that's all you'll have to do. You go to the sync preferences in TextExpander, you click on the button Link to Snippets, and then you select the location where they are.
Okay. It makes perfect sense. I would have been a little surprised if you'd said that you were able to avoid that. But
so would we.
Yeah. But I want to make sure people do understand, because I don't want them changing it and then saying, well, it broke. Nothing's happening. Yeah.
And then also, I suppose it's worth noting that there is also compatibility sync. So let's say that you run a mixed shop. You have TextExpander 4 on a Mavericks machine, you have TextExpander 5 on a Yosemite machine, and you have TextExpander Touch. In that case, there's a checkbox in the sync which says sync with TextExpander 4 and TextExpander Touch 3.2.4, and that will constrain you to having your snippets in the same old Dropbox location, but it will allow you to use TextExpander 5.
At the risk of taking us off track, has TextExpander Touch been updated, or are these just capabilities that are built in that are just now being tapped?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, TextExpander Touch has been updated. So we had to update it to 3.5 to include the ability to select where your snippets are. And so that's in 3.5. But we were also able to do some other stuff. And Philip, I'm going to cheat and steal your slot for a moment here. Because one of the things that we were able to do is add support for JavaScript snippets. And so JavaScript snippets actually are capable of executing JavaScript on both platforms, on OS X and on iOS. And so you can have snippets that sync back and forth that do calculations or that do clever things with fill-ins. And so we're really excited to be able to offer this sort of automation capability cross-platform.
Wow, that's really exciting. I'm assuming that the reminders and the suggestions don't work on iOS. Is that a fair statement, or do they?
That is a fair statement.
Okay. In a way, it wouldn't make nearly as much sense for the very nature of the iOS device. But again, just to be sure.
Yeah.
All right, Philip. So since he took your turn, maybe I'll give you two slots.
I'm running out of main stuff. Anyway, okay, so I'll take 2 slots then. Well, first one is a very, very simple one. On iOS for a long time, we've had the ability to preview a snippet and to see how it looks. That's because some snippets are more programmed, like the dates. The date format will preview and it will show you what the present date would expand to, for example. And so it's a very convenient feature. And we did not have that on the Mac. You would have to actually use the snippet to be able to find out what the result was. Now you have preview on the Mac. So a nice, simple feature. And then the next feature, which I think is kind of fun, is we have gone through the statistics section of the product on the Mac, and we've refreshed all the statistics display. And we have a nice new top snippets used in the last month feature, so you can see what you're using most.
And not to sell that short, but you can also roll over the data points on the graph and see the actual numbers for the data. Philip did a very, very cool job with the statistics.
Actually, you can zoom over the data too. You can drag over the data and it'll zoom and show you that section. So it's kind of interesting. You've got some cool charts in there.
That's one I haven't run across yet in my exploration of TextExpander 5, but it's always been sort of a fun feature to see how much time it tells you save. I realize that it's not supposed to be deadly serious, but it is a pretty good indicator of the idea that you really are saving keystrokes and therefore time with this. And I think one part of the expansion that gets overlooked so much is it prevents me from making the same typos over and over. That if I'm just letting the snippet do its thing, it's always going to type it the same way and it's going to do it correctly. It's probably something that I'm not going to be able to make that same claim for.
Well, none of us are that accurate, and just the accuracy improvement in using TextExpander is really a bonus.
Today's edition of MacVoices is sponsored by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. Get a full free 10-day trial at lynda.com/MacVoices. If you're listening to or watching MacVoices, I'm betting it's because you like to learn more about how to do amazing things with your Apple tech and beyond. That's why lynda.com should be just perfect for you, because not only can you learn more about using Apple-related programs and gear, but also about all sorts of things, even non-tech things, like personal finances, negotiations, management, or go in a different direction with K-12 education or higher education, or switch over to video production or photography, or lots more. Lynda.com has something for everyone, no matter what your interest is or your expertise level is. And the best thing about it is that you can do just that, switch from one topic to another quickly at no extra expense, since once you subscribe, every single course and topic on lynda.com is available for you whenever you want. I've been getting up to speed on a service that I really haven't fully embraced yet, Evernote. Lynda.com has made it easy, not only to learn, but because I haven't been at home much when I have time to watch, I can take lynda.com with me via their iPhone and iPad app, so I can watch when and where I want, even offline. Right now, you can surf over to lynda.com/MacVoices, that's lynda.com/MacVoices, and sign up for a 10-day free trial. That means you can watch any lynda.com course for the next 10 days with no obligation, or as many different courses as you want. Sample training in Excel, programming for iOS 8, Google Docs, and a whole lot more. That's 10 days of training free at lynda.com/MacVoices. Sign up now and let me know what courses you decided to watch during your free trial. I'm on Twitter as Chuck Joyner, or drop me an email at chuck@macvoices.com. lynda.com/MacVoices to learn something new today. Thanks to lynda.com for their support of MacVoices. All right, so it sounds like we were getting down to some less function, more polishing kind of features. Anything else that we want to make sure we let people know about?
Well, on TextExpander Touch, we've actually added search as well. That's something that hadn't been there and was, how would you say it, something of an omission. And so we were able to add search both at the top level for across all of your groups, and then at the group level specific to a given group. So if you're looking for a snippet on iOS, it's now actually possible to find it.
I think it's been very interesting, the whole idea of the different keyboards for iOS, which is, of course, how TextExpander Touch is enabled. And, you know, before, everybody was saying, oh, Android has this, Android has that. Boy, they got these cool keyboards. And about 3 days afterwards, everybody stopped talking about keyboards. And I have to say, I've flirted with some of the others. I've gotten rid of them all except TextExpander Touch. And folks, I know this sounds like a commercial. It's really not. It's the only one I keep because the feature set is what I want to do. That I want to access my snippets in text messages, in emails on my iOS device. So I think it's brilliant, and I think it really shows the TextExpander on any platform stands the test of time.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean, do you get that kind of feedback about TextExpander Touch, that people do find it useful and it's something that they will stick with?
Well, I think people certainly make good use of the keyboard, especially those who have a lot of snippets. It's challenging to type anything of any length on iOS, and so anything that we can do to make that easier is fantastic. I think that there are some limitations to the iOS keyboard architecture that make doing what we're doing more limited than I would like. I mean, if I can give you an example. Keyboards can't access the globe menu. So there's no way for us to say to iOS, please present to the user a list of all of their other keyboards popped up like you would do if you were in a standard keyboard. And I think that that's incredibly limiting. I mean, we have the open bug on that. It's not as though Apple is unaware of this. It's just that it's not something that's been done. Now, architecturally, it could be hard. I don't know. But I do know that from a user standpoint, it makes the usability of third-party keyboards, including ours, much more difficult than I'd like it to be. And I wish that it were something that were more in our control. I wish it were something that we could do better. So that's tough. I mean, it's tough to be architecture constrained. On the flip side, it's awesome to be able to make a custom keyboard. So, you got to take the good with the bad. We're thrilled to actually be able to have an offering in a case where we couldn't have one before. And who knows, maybe next week we'll get great news on the keyboard architecture, having had lots of effort put into it, lots of things fixed. I keep my fingers crossed, and I wouldn't be too surprised. I'd be very happy.
I would like to think so too. That if not next week, then sometime soon, that they could continue to improve that. I think keyboards were kind of a flash in the pan to start with, so many of them, because everybody was anxious to try something else out because they weren't happy with Apple's. But I mean, who needs a Klingon keyboard? I mean, come on, No,
but there's a lot of cleverness that people can do with keyboards, and I mean, I think that the calendaring keyboard is really super clever and is something that's neat. And I think we'll see more innovation in that area of having the flexibility to present an alternate form of input. And hopefully the ability to change between those alternate forms of input, if it's easier, will make them more prominent.
Philip, I want to make sure folks heard what you said in response to my comment about, who needs a Klingon keyboard.
Klingons.
Yeah. Spoken like a true Star Trek fan. Good. I set you up for that one. Guys, I do want to ask, though, a little bit about security. It seems like in today's world, that always has to come up with every product. First, let's do the easy one. Syncing of your snippets to iCloud and Dropbox. Any security concerns there from... You can comment if you wish on Dropbox and iCloud service, or just the ability to store my snippets there. Anything I need to be worried about?
I think no. I think the only thing you need to be worried about is potential loss of your own password or the compromisation of those systems, which is effectively like the loss of your password to somebody else. I mean, yeah, I mean, if anything on that you store online gets compromised, then you potentially lose stuff, and can have your security breached in that way. I would say don't store credit card numbers in TextExpander. That's not really the use of it.
Are the snippets encoded or encrypted? Excuse me, in any particular way?
No.
Okay.
No, the snippets are stored in plain text on disk, and this is deliberate. TextExpander isn't meant as a repository for secure information, and we don't pretend to be one. If you want a repository for secure information, then I'd strongly recommend 1Password. It's a fantastic product. It's available cross-platform. It's capable of generating secure passwords. They've recently added support for effectively two-factor authentication. You shouldn't store passwords in TextExpander. You shouldn't store credit cards in TextExpander. You should store text in TextExpander. Your common responses, the names of your products, your address, your phone number, that sort of stuff, absolutely.
Right. But you can store, obviously, so much more. You can store pages of my classic example is if you were an attorney, you could store pages of boilerplate that just need to be dropped into contracts just with a couple keystrokes, bang.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I have a recommendation letter template, or a recommendation request template. I have things of that nature. And yeah, no, TextExpander is great for that.
The other security issue I wanted to touch on is the fact that the first two features we talked about, the recommendations and the reminders. So TextExpander is, by its very nature, is always watching what I'm doing because it's always watching to see if I'm typing a snippet. And if it does, it expands it. So this is just another example of TextExpander doing what it's already doing. And I want to stress that point. But it also raises somebody's, hackles just a little bit that is this doing any key logging? It's monitoring me, but how is it monitoring me and how secure is that?
TextExpander only stores the buffer you are typing while you are typing it, and then effectively it gets thrown away. Now this buffer gets analyzed to be able to make these suggestions, but it actually doesn't store the text of those suggestions. It stores the ability to be able to match up what you previously typed, which isn't the text itself. So it will only know temporarily that that particular text based on what you've typed. And so in terms of that memory, it's not really a security risk. Obviously, if you type something 20 times or whatever the criteria are for it to decide a suggestion, it will end up in your suggestions list, what you typed, and there it is going to be available like any other snippet. But you have a chance then to discard it permanently or keep it as a snippet you want to use.
Okay, I'm curious, when you say it's keeping the buffer of what I'm typing only while I'm typing it, can you give me an idea of how long we're talking about? Are we talking about X number of characters? Are we talking about X number of seconds or minutes?
It depends how accurate you are in terms of characters, but usually it's just like a sentence or two before you backspace or make corrections or click a mouse over to another app. So that's going to be about the extent of it. So unless you're a really accurate typist, I think it's very unlikely it's going to go over much over 100 characters.
And I would imagine that's because snippets by their very nature are supposed to be relatively small, so it doesn't need to be keeping a whole lot of text in the buffer.
Exactly.
Got it. Makes sense. Makes sense. What else do we need to know about TextExpander 5 and conversely the new edition of TextExpander Touch? Anything we've missed or anything you're particularly proud of that we haven't talked about?
It has an updated UI for Yosemite. It is Yosemite only, which is a big difference versus the previous versions. You can still run the previous versions on older OSs, but we've really tried to focus our development on what is current and produce a user interface that matches the current Apple experience.
That has to be a tough decision because I'm sure you've received letters saying, "Oh, I'm not running a Yosemite machine. You're leaving me behind," and all that usual stuff that we hear. We've heard since leopard, snow leopard, lion, the whole way back to panther, that people feel left behind. But I think there's a lot to be said for keeping up and jettisoning some of the old baggage.
There is, but I think we're keeping less people have said that in the past than in the past. So I think it's not that big a deal. And you can still run the older version of the product, which is still a miraculously useful product. It's not like because we launched TextExpander 5 or TextExpander 4 isn't still fabulous.
Yeah, that's a detail people seem to forget, that just because you launch a new product, the old one doesn't stop working.
You'd almost think it does happen like that in software, but it really doesn't.
Yeah. If a new version of the OS breaks it, that's a whole other story. But you guys don't go back and turn it off,
right?
Yeah. So, okay, so TextExpander 5 is available from, of course, Smile at smilesoftware.com. Is it on the App Store?
It is not. TextExpander, really, we can't offer TextExpander on the App Store because keyloggers are not permitted on the Mac App Store. And at heart, TextExpander is a user-authorized keylogger, but it's still a keylogger nonetheless.
Yeah, with a very small buffer.
Correct. And then also, one other thing to note, we do have a complete set of new videos, screencasts to go with TextExpander 5 and TextExpander Touch 3.5. And those videos were done by the remarkable Mac Sparky, David Sparks. And so we're really happy about those. And we think that those do a really good job of both showing off what's new and showing off how to get the most out of TextExpander.
Great. David does such a great job. I mean, he's really into it. So that's good to know. So folks, if you wonder what we're talking about, go and check those out. I assume, Greg, they're on the TextExpander page of the Smile website.
That's right. Just click on video there. And then TextExpander 5 is $44.95 for new users, and it's $19.90 for upgraders. It's also free of charge for those who purchased on or after January 1st, 2015.
Great. How about the new version of TextExpander Touch? That obviously is available on the App Store.
TextExpander Touch 3.5 is available on the App Store. It's a free update for users of TextExpander Touch 3, and it's $4.99 for people who are new to TextExpander Touch.
And if you're using an iOS device and you use TextExpander, it's just a no-brainer.
We like to hope so.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay, so I think that covers everything, except, again, for me to say that I love TextExpander, and people say why. I think it's one of the easiest utilities to figure out what it does and use that power. And then if you just go this much deeper, it's got a whole nother level of power. But if you never get past that first level, it can be amazingly useful. So I love that. It's simple, it's powerful, easy to understand, easy to use, and yet there's some depth to it. So
thank you.
That's my 2 cents. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, there's a lot of love for TextExpander, and we're incredibly appreciated for it.
Yes, we love our user base. Our user base are really incredible.
Well, I think we've talked about this before, but sort of in different areas. But you all have really made yourselves part of the community. You're not just a software house. You are truly part of the community in so many areas, in so many ways. And I think you both deserve a huge amount of credit for doing that and continuing to maintain that feel.
So, well, it's a community we're very fond of, so we're happy to.
Well, I'll appoint myself spokesman. I think the community is fond of you, too, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Great, Philip. Great to see you. I guess I will get the chance to see you both in San Francisco next week at WWDC.
Look forward to it.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Folks, TextExpander 5 from Smile at smilesoftware.com, TextExpander Touch in the App Store. Go get them. You're going to love them. Believe me, you're going to love them. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.